एप्लीकेशंस है फिजिक्स में, राइट। जैसे आप देखते हो कि वेक्टर होती है, ट्रिग्नोमेट्री होती है, उसके अलावा बेसिक कैलकुलस होंगे, डिफरेंशिएशन, इंटीग्रेशन, बेसिक ये सारे, और थोड़ा क्वाड्रेंट ज्योमेट्री की भी यूज होती है। तो हमें यहाँ पर ये देखना है कि 11 के लिए जो पहला टॉपिक हम यहाँ पे कवर करने वाले हैं वो मैथ से रिलेटेड का टॉपिक है, मैथमेटिक्स से। तो उसमें जो है वेक्टर टॉपिक जो है वो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि वेक्टर से होगा क्या कि आप फिजिक्स के सारे टर्म समझ पाओगे, क्योंकि फिजिक्स का मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर से वेक्टर क्वांटिटीज, राइट। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट वेक्टर। So let me introduce first. My name is Rajiv, Gupta, XIIT faculty, and I have some experience of 25 years. So in vector topic, we will see that in nature there are some physical quantities which are say vector and some are say scalars. So first of all, we will see physical quantities. So what are say physical quantities? So if we see that physical quantities, so all quantities which can be measured with the help of instruments are called physical quantities. Physical quantities are such quantities which can be measured with the help of instruments. That means to measure a physical quantity we require an instrument. We also require more than one instrument. At least one instrument is needed. Right. For example, say you have to measure length, width, height. So you have to use meter scale, right? Or say tape. So similarly, if you want to measure weight of a person, then you need mass as well as value of g, right? So that's why we can see that for physical quantity we need some instrument, right? Because mass is measured by some weighing machine. So all measurable quantities which can be measured with the help of an instrument are called physical quantities, right? Now these physical quantities are represented with the help of say letter P or say capital P. You can write this as say P, or say you can write this as say capital P. So it is written as say P letter or say capital P. Now this is physical quantities. You will see that there are say two terms. One term is say numerical value and one term is say some unit. That means suppose we are taking a physical quantity say mass 10 kg. So we see that this 10 is a number. This is say numerical value of this mass and kg is say unit. So in physical quantities we see that they are say two quantity needed. That is say numerical value as well as unit. Now this magnitude of the physical quantity represents size or amount of that physical quantity, right? For example, P equal to 10 kg, that means we are talking about 10 kg mass of any body. Okay. Similarly, if we are taking say 1 meter, then we are dealing with the 1 meter size. Now this 1 meter can be converted into say 100 centimeter. It can be converted into say centimeter by multiplying with 100. So 1 meter equals to say 100 centimeter. Here we see that this physical quantity numerical value is say L1 and unit is say U1, and next in other unit its numerical value is say N2 and unit is say U2. So we can see that N1 U1 equals to N2 U2. This formula we can use for physical quantities. Clear है? So physical quantities say in some unit its numerical value is say L1, then in some other unit its numerical value may change, right? For example, in meter unit numerical value is 1, but in centimeter its numerical value is say 100. So we see that there may be say change in numerical value if we change unit. Right. Now physical quantity, we have to study two types of physical quantity, scalar and vector. So first of all we take scalar physical quantity, right? Scalar quantity, the quantity which have only magnitude are called scalar quantity, there is no direction. So the quantity which have only magnitude but no direction are called scalar quantity. For example, mass, speed, distance, etc. Because अगर हम मास की बात करें तो उसमें क्या taking से 10 kg rise, so we don't see direction, any direction of this rise quantity. So this mass has got no direction, right? Similarly, speed has got no direction, as well as distance. These are the scalar quantities. Clear यहाँ पे? Right. Next we move vector quantities. Vector quantities are such physical quantities which has got magnitude as well as direction, as well as it obeys the laws of vector addition, subtraction, etc. So this vector quantities are the physical quantities which have both magnitude as well as direction, and which obeys the laws of vector addition, subtraction, multiplication, etc. Right. So for physical for vector, there are the requirement of three quantities. There should have some magnitude, there should be some direction, and it should obey some vector laws. Now vector laws क्या हैं? तो vector laws हम लोग समझेंगे कि दो vector quantity को कैसे ऐड किया जाता है या सब्ट्रैक्ट किया जाता है या फिर इनको मल्टीप्लाई किया जाता है दो vector से. So these are called vector laws. Example of this vector quantity are say displacement, velocity, force, acceleration, etc. Right? These are the examples. Now we will see how a vector is represented. So representation of a vector. A vector is represented by an arrow. The size of arrow represents magnitude of vector. So a vector is represented by an say arrow. एक arrow से represent किया जाता है और इस arrow का जो size होता है वो उसके magnitude को represent करता है. अब इस arrow का जो back portion है उसे tail कहा जाता है और जो front portion है उसे head कहा जाता है. So these are say tail and head of this vector quantity. Now this magnitude is represented as p, right? If a vector is represented, then for vector we have to write some arrow. So p with some arrow is called vector quantity, right? So this is how a vector is indicated, right? And this is arrow, then how a vector is represented, right? So to represent a vector, you have to suppose you have to study say velocity, then you will use the v letter and we put an arrow. This represents a velocity vector, right? Suppose you have to represent acceleration, then you have to write a initial letter of say acceleration and you have to put some arrow. This represents acceleration, right? Similarly displacement, so you have to represent s vector over some arrow. So this represents displacement. So thus for a vector you have to use some letters and then you have to use some arrow over this letter, right? And to represent it, we can use an arrow to represent a vector. Now magnitude of a vector is also defined as modulus of vector, because magnitude of a vector is never zero. So never negative. It is never negative. Magnitude of a vector is always greater than or equal to 0. You can say. So you can say magnitude of a vector is say always greater than or equal to 0. So magnitude will be say either 0 or say greater than 0. Modulus. Modulus we can see say modulus gives amount or say size of that quantity, right? Suppose you are getting some loss of say 20 rupees. You have bought some quantity in say rupees 100 and you have sell it with say 100 you have got and say let's say 80. So there will be some loss. So what will be loss? So will be loss you will be say 100 minus 80, that is 30 rupees loss, right? If we find the change, how is much change at second place? It will be say change is always final value minus initial value. Change will be say minus 20. So there will be say amount of change, that is say minus 20. So here if we see loss, the loss will be say 20. So modulus, we can say modulus tells us how much some quantity has changed with positive sign. So there should be only positive sign. So only we have to see 20. Suppose minus 2 is there. So if we are taking modulus, so modulus sign we have to use the two sides. Mathematics you have studied. Modulus of 2 is say 2 and modulus of minus 2 is also 2. That means minus 2 may be some loss and that loss is also rupees 2. So that's why minus 2 represents 2. So this is called modulus. This means meaning of modulus. Clear है modulus का meaning? So next next हम यहाँ पर देखें कि अगर if we have to represent a vector, for example suppose this represent a vector, this represent a vector, this arrow represent a vector, this arrow is representing a vector. Here modulus is given as say 10 Newton or say 10 meter or 10 meter per second. So this arrow modulus magnitude may be 10 Newton, 10 meter or 10 meter per second. If 10 Newton, that means it is a force. So we are dealing with a force. So this arrow represents a force. If there is a 10 meter, then we are dealing with displacement. That means this 10 meter represents displacement vector. And if we are taking say 10 meter per second unit, then it will be as a velocity. So numerical value all has got 10, but this unit decides tells us which quantity it represents. Force, displacement or say velocity. Clear है? So in the case of modulus, we can say magnitude. We can tell about the size of that physical quantity, that is vector, as well as nature of that physical quantity, whether it is say force or displacement or say velocity. Clear है? अच्छा आप ये बताओ अगर यहाँ पे 10 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर हो तो फिर क्या रिप्रेजेंट करेगा ये? What will it represent? 10 मीटर पर सेकेंड. The velocity upon time. What is this? Acceleration. तो अगर यहाँ पे यूनिट 10 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर होगा तो हम कहते हैं कि एक्सेलरेशन वेक्टर को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. Now arrow size, because the vector is represented by arrow, so this arrow size also gives an idea how much size or say magnitude of that vector quantity. Say 1 centimeter we are using for 1 Newton. So for 1 Newton we are using say 1 centimeter. So this 1 centimeter represents say 1 Newton. यहाँ पे identical symbol is this 1 centimeter length represents 1 Newton. So suppose we have to say write 5 Newton force, then we will use 5 centimeter length of this arrow. Clear है? You have to write say 2 Newton. So how much centimeter it should have? 2 centimeter, right? That means this 2 Newton force is less in magnitude than this 5 Newton force. Direction will be same. Arrow direction, that means force direction will be same, but magnitude is different. So thus we can see this an arrow represented vector, right? Now arrow direction, that means say a head give the direction of vector. In this case we are seeing that this arrow is directed towards right, and in this case this arrow is directed towards left. That means if this A vector represents positive direction, then this minus A vector represents negative direction, left, right? So this direction, from direction we can decide it is a vector A or say minus A. So this is called opposite of vector A. Clear है? तो अगर ये A vector है, suppose ये A vector है, then it will be say opposite of A vector. This is the opposite of A vector. Direction is opposite. Magnitude may be same. Or say is equal. It will be say opposite vector. So modulus sign, how we can write modulus sign? For modulus sign, a vector is put some two lines. If two lines are put outside this, right? So if a vector is say P vector and we are putting two lines, that is called the modulus of P, right? So modulus we are getting two vertical lines. For example, modulus of 2 is 2, modulus of minus 2 is also 2, right? Now for a vector we see that vector has got magnitude as well as direction. So this P part, that is the modulus part, will get magnitude. And there is some another vector that is called P cap. This P cap is read as P cap, right? Or say P hat. Later we will study that this is called unit vector. It represents direction. P cap. P cap is the direction. It gives the direction of that physical quantity. Yes. So in vector we will get always two parts. One part is a magnitude and one part is a direction. Right? For example, suppose someone has written force vector as 10 Newton on some direction is say I cap. So what it is? How much magnitude is this? Force magnitude is how much? Yes. Force magnitude is 10 Newton. And what will be direction? Plus I cap will get plus x direction, positive x direction. That means this force is actually in positive x direction. Right? If there is a written minus I cap, that will be negative x direction. So in vector, you will always get two parts. One part is magnitude and one part is the direction. Right? This is called the vector part. Understand? Yes. Next we will see direction cells. In direction cells, we see that a vector, because a vector direction is necessary to completely get its information. For a vector, magnitude as well as direction. So how a direction is written or say represented? For direction sense, we see that they say north, south, east and west. There will be say north, south, east and west, right? For example, this is a newsletter, news जो हम लोग डेली सुनते हैं, that is formed from this four letters, right? North, east, west and south, right? News. So north, if this arrow will be there vertically of north, then downward will be south. This right side is representing east direction, then left side will be say west. Clock map program में आप देखते हो, right? So in this case, if a vector is say 20 and 45 degree with east direction, then its direction is called northeast. That means this vector has got direction northeast. Or we can say it is say east north. Or we can say it is 45 degree north of east. That means 45 degree north of east. Or it will be say 45 degree east of north, right? So we can say it 45 degree north of east, and we can say it 45 degree east of north also. Because if this is a 45 degree, then this angle will be also 45 degree. So we can say 45 degree east of north also. Now suppose some other direction is given, and that direction is 60 degree with east and 30 degree with north. So how can call it? So how can call it? It is say representing 60 degree north of east or 30 degree east of north. So In both ways we can edit direction. Understand? Right. So this is the direction sense. So how a direction of vector is written, this you have to keep in mind. Right? Clear है? Now now we are going to study some laws. That is called addition law of vector. So how a vector is added? So a vector. How a vector is added with another vector, right? So or more than two vectors are added. So for addition of two vectors, we have got a law that is called triangle law. So there is a law that is called the triangle law of vector addition. The triangle law of vector addition. This is a very important topic. Triangle law, because this whole vector topic is based on this law, right? This is called the triangle law of vector addition. क्या law है? Law का नाम क्या है बताना? Tell. Speak.
Triangle law of vector addition.
The triangle law of vector addition. क्या किया जाता है इस लॉ से? में हम क्या पढ़ते हैं? Add. How many vectors? Two vectors. We add two vectors and we get the resultant as the third vector, right? The third side is the resultant. If we got two vectors A and B, then the third side of triangle is the resultant, addition resultant. This is called addition resultant. Suppose you are adding 2 plus 3, addition resultant is 5. This is scalar. But if you are adding 2 Newton force with 3 Newton force, then it may be say less than 5 Newton. That is vector. Because this is vector, it obeys vector law, triangle law. So how it is possible that a vector magnitude of I think say 2 Newton and 3 Newton may be less than 5 Newton, right? So how it is possible? So first of all we will just understand this vector addition. So vector addition is somewhat different than scalar addition, right? Scalar sum simply we add or subtract. Here we have to see the direction also during addition, right? So first of all we will see the statement of this triangle law, right? So statement you note down, if two vectors are represented by the two sides of a triangle taken in order. Suppose we are taking two vectors A and B, and this A and B are representing two sides of a triangle. Then the third side will be the addition resultant. The third side will be the addition resultant of the vector A and B. If two vectors are represented by the two sides of a triangle taken in order, here we have to taken in order. Then their addition resultant or vector sum is represented by the third side of the triangle taken in opposite order. Here we are getting two concepts. First is that if we are adding A and B, then addition sum of vector for say vector A plus vector B will be equal to called C. That is the third side of the triangle. And the second point is that the third side will be the addition resultant, right? For this triangle law, the second point is important. That is also important. That tells us that this first two vectors A and B should be represented in order, same order. The same order means are in same order. Same order means when A ends, B start. That is called same order. Where head of A is matching with the tail of B. Right? When A ends, B start. That is called same order. Clear? Right? And the third side, C is representing the addition resultant. And its order, if we see, it is the opposite of B, A and B. So it is of the opposite order. So it should be in opposite order, the third side. Clear है? So am I clear? Right. So here we see A and B are of the same order, but this C is of say opposite order. Similarly, we can see A ends, B start, and then C from opposite side. Right. Here again C will be equal to A plus B. This is called vector sum. Right. So this is called the triangle law of vector addition. Right. Now, if A, B, C are in same order, if A, B, C are in same order. If A, B, C are in same order, then sum of these three will be a zero. This zero is called a null vector, right? Null or zero vector. Any vector having no magnitude and any arbitrary direction, because it doesn't exist, right? So direction you can decide any arbitrary direction, right? And there should be no magnitude. That is called null vector. So here we see that A, then B, and then same order C. So we are reaching the same point. Suppose we are taking 3 displacement and we are reaching the same point. So net displacement will be called 0. That is why this is a null vector, right? So net displacement will be 0 because we are reaching the same point where we have started, right? So A plus B plus C sum is 0. Then so that means a triangle law is valid here, and we will see that in a triangle sum of side of two sides must be greater than the third. So that means here A plus B should be greater than C. Similarly, B plus C should be greater than A, and similarly A plus C should be greater than B, right? So here we can see that sum of any two sides must be greater than or equal to the third side. Equal कब आएगा? Equal it will be when all these are say collinear. So equality holds when it is say collinear. In case of say collinear, A, B, we are taking say A, then B, and then we are taking the third side as C, which is collinear. So if these three are say collinear in same line, then we can see that for it happens to be 0, A plus B will equal to C. So this equality holds when it is say collinear, right? In case of collinear, this equality holds. Otherwise, it will be unequal. A plus B will be greater than C. Now, if we talk about say force, so a body is said to be in equilibrium if there is no force. Net force is 0. So a body is said to be in equilibrium, there is a net force 0. That means there is a no acceleration. No force, that means no acceleration. Acceleration must be 0. For this, F1, F2, F3, sum of all these three must be 0. Right? Right. So F1 plus F2 plus F3, all sum should be 0. For a body to be in equilibrium, the forces acting F1, F2, and F3, sum of all these three forces must be 0. Right? That is this type of triangle should be done. Next, we are saying a polygon law. In polygon law, we see that we add more than two vectors. Suppose we are adding A and B. So we are adding A and B. Then this arrow, triangle law, what will be this? Tell me. A plus B, right? Then we are adding A plus B and C. So what will be this vector?
A plus B
It will be
C.
A plus B plus C, right? Then we are adding D. It is called
R.
R vector. So this R is the resultant vector of this all this. So we are applying triangle law step by. So we are getting R vector is the sum of all these four vectors, right? So we can say this is called polygon law. If you have to add more than two or say three vectors, right? So more than two vectors addition we need polygon law, right? Which is the extension of triangle law. Is it clear? Now let's do some questions on this based on this triangle or polygon law, right? Suppose we have to find additional resultant of given two vectors. We have got two vectors, 5 Newton east and 5 Newton north. So there are two forces acting. One is acting say towards east, so one is acting towards east, and one is acting towards north. So what is the direction of resultant force? Direction as well as magnitude. Right? Here we see that 5 plus 5 is how much? 10. We can say resultant will be 10, but in 10 ये तब होता when जब both the forces are in this direction, in the same direction, then it will be 5 plus 5 plus 10. But since the second vector is acting at 90 degree, its resultant will be say some less than 10. It will be less than 10. How it is? So we can use resultant. So we can use say triangle law and Pythagoras law, right? So suppose R is the addition resultant, right? Capital R vector, right? So suppose first vector is say 5 meter, so we will complete the triangle. So this is say 5 meter first vector, then 5 meter second vector. So these are same order. So we will take it from here and we will write it here, right? 5. Now A, B, then the resultant is C, that is called R. This will be the third R vector, right? So we can see that R is the addition resultant using triangle law. Clearly, R is the addition resultant. Now this 5 meter, that means this angle will be 45 degree. We know. Right. So here we can use simple Pythagoras law to calculate addition resultant magnitude R. Right. So in Pythagoras law, this R square is equal to 5 square plus 5 square, that is say root 50. 25 plus 25, root 50. Now we take the square root. So it will be say 5 root 2. 5 square is 25 into 2. So if 5 will come out, it will be say 5 root 2 meter. So its value is say 5 root 2 meter. If we are taking say root 2 value as say 1.4 times 5, it will come out across 7 meter. So it is say 7 meter, less than 10 meter. So we are getting addition resultant as less than 10. So understand the vector addition resultant may be less than a plus b क्यों होता है ऐसा? तो एंगल 0 डिग्री नहीं होने का है, क्लियर? मतलब सेम डायरेक्शन नहीं है. Now we will see the direction. For direction, we will see tan theta. Tan theta will be opposite side divided by base side, right? So the side opposite to theta is say 5 and side adjacent to theta is say 5. So 5.5 is 1. Tan 45 is 1. That means this angle is 45, right? So we can see direction resultant is 5 root 2 meter towards north, because this direction is currently northeast, right? Because this is say north and this is say east, and primarily it will be say northeast. So this is the addition resultant. Clear is right. Next, you have to find addition resultant of given two vectors. So what will be addition resultant of given two vectors? 6 Newton east and 4 Newton north. For this triangle law is completed, right? This is a 6 Newton, this is a 4 Newton, this is the addition resultant R. Again we will use Pythagoras theorem, 6 square plus 4 square, 36 plus 16, that is the root 52. We use the root 52 Newton, resulted. Now for this angle, we need tan theta. Tan theta will be say opposite side divided by addition side, 4 upon 6. So 4 upon 6 is 2 by 3, so 2 by 2. So this theta comes out tan inverse 2 by 2. So this theta is tan inverse. That means the addition resultant is under root 52 Newton, and it is say theta equal to this angle north of east, right? This will be the addition resultant. There is because this direction is one, this direction is say east direction, and this is say north, and this angle is north of east. This angle is say north of east. Next, we have to find addition resultant of given three vectors. Now we will use polygon law. So we will keep adding same order vectors, right? So first of all, we will write 10 east, then 5 north, then 5 west, then 5 west, right? If first ends, where first end, second 5 then end, where second end, the third 5 west will be there, right? So we have started from this and we have reached here, right? So this will be the addition resultant. Clear? Starting point and end point. तो कैसे करेंगे? तो how we will do it? तो इसके लिए we have to use polygon law. That means we have to represent all these vectors in same order, right? matching tail, head with tail, and then the fourth resultant addition resultant will be of say opposite order, that is say R. This is the polynomial. Now this, if we see this R, so this size is 5, so this size is 5, so this height will be again 5, and this is say 5, so it will be 5, so here we are getting 5, right? We are getting, so this side is 5 and this is 5, so it will be 45 degree, and resultant will be again 5 degree, the first question, right? R will be 5 degree, and angle is again 45 degree, it is again say 5 degree towards northeast. This will be answer. These of first example से relate कर सकते हैं. Clear है ये? अब क्या relate clear है? Right. Next, we have to add this 4 vectors. So now we have to add this 4 vectors. 10 east, 5 north, 5 west, and then 5 south. So here the 4 is say 5 south. Here, so first is say 10 east, right? Then 5 north, then 5 west, and then 5 south. So here, this is the starting point, this is the end point. So this will be the addition there. So R will be simply 5. Its answer is 5 towards east, right? आसान है, इजी है, क्लियर है? तो आप वेक्टर के बारे में थोड़ा सा जान जाएंगे कि कैसे ऐड किया जाता है, तो आपके लिए फिर आसान हो जाएगा, राइट? पैथागोरस लॉ, सिंपल ज्योमेट्री, ये सारे यूज करनी, क्लियर है, राइट? नेक्स्ट वी हैव टू फाइंड एडिशन रिजल्टेंट ऑफ गिवन दिस 2 वेक्टर्स, राइट?
towards east है.
इनिशियल टू फाइनल, ये डायरेक्शन ईस्ट होता है ना, दिस इज आर, ईस्ट टू initial to final, इस डायरेक्शन. Find addition result of given 2 vectors where theta is say angle between vectors A and B. So if we are taking 2 vectors, vector A and then vector B, right? So we are taking 2 vectors. So here we can see that one vector is say A and this is say B. We are say 2 vectors. This B has some angle theta with the direction of A. This is the direction of A. So there will be some angle theta between A and B. Right? This is so for direction we can shift A vector in this direction. So we can write A here also, right? Because the vector may be shifted parallel to itself. So angle between A and B will be theta, right? आपको ध्यान रखना होगा, ये काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है, आगे काम भी आएगा आपको, कि कोई भी 2 वेक्टर जो होते हैं उनके अगर दोनों के टेल मैच करते हैं तो ये जो स्मॉलर एंगल होता है दोनों का टेल मैच करे तो ये स्मॉलर एंगल के बीच एंगल होता है, या फिर दोनों का हेड मैच करे, तो इफ हेड ऑफ बोथ आर मैचिंग देन दिस स्मॉलर एंगल इज कॉल्ड थीटा. या तो दोनों का टेल मैच करे या फिर दोनों का हेड, राइट? ऐसे इस तरह से या फिर दोनों इस तरह से, क्लियर है? हाँ, इस तरह से कन्वर्ट हो या फिर इस तरह से डाइवर्ट, तो उससे हम लोग एंगल मानते हैं. तो ये तो चलो ये सारी बातें हो गई एंगल की, ये सब हम लोग पढ़ेंगे आगे. अब हम लोग यहाँ पे आ जाते हैं इस टॉपिक पे. इसमें है क्या, हमें 2 वेक्टर दिया गया से ए एंड बी और हमें कैलकुलेट करना है से एडिशन रिलेटेड. Here we see that this A is not perpendicular to B. A और B are mutually perpendicular नहीं है, ये mutually perpendicular है, बल्कि it is at some angle theta. Still we have to use triangle law and Pythagoras law, and we have to find the value of R, right? For this, तो इसमें क्या होता है कि सपोज दिस ए बी रिप्रेजेंट फर्स्ट वेक्टर, तो दिस ए बी रिप्रेजेंट फर्स्ट वेक्टर एंड बी सी represent second vector B. This is say BC. Then AC will be called addition resultant R. So this AC will be addition resultant R. Right. For this, this R will be called addition resultant vector addition of A and B. So we are taking ABS A side, BCS B side, and this R is the additional electrode. For this, we have to complete. We have to take help of say Pythagoras law. For this, we have to make a right angle triangle. So we will still use Pythagoras law. For this,